Hi and welcome back to the kitchen. Today we're going to be making a chicken stir fry with peanut sauce. One of my absolute favorites. It's simple, it's easy, it's nutritious. You're going to just love it. I mean, it's low calorie, but high in nutrition, and it has all the things that we've talked about earlier in terms of good nutrition. So even better, we are using the chicken from the roasted chicken we had a couple days ago. So we don't even have to cook the chicken. We're just going to do it for flavor in some sesame oil. You'll see that in a minute. I've already got that chopped and ready to go. And then I also have the broccoli and pepper and chopped and ready to go. Basically what's in this is broccoli, chicken, the pepper, and then the peanut sauce. So what I'm going to do today is make the peanut sauce, and you can see how simple it is, and put it together and show you how very, very easy it is. 30 minutes max to do all of this. So again, the most important thing is that you have fresh ingredients in this recipe, because the flavors that come out are just spectacular. And if you try to use lime juice or anything like that to replace a fresh lime, it's just not going to work. So the first thing that it calls for is 2 teaspoons of grated lemon rind. And I use just a basic microplane. You can see it here. And just, usually it takes 1 lime. And the biggest thing you want to be careful is that you just don't get your fingers while you're trying to do this. So I do enough so that I can get the 2 teaspoons. Sometimes if it's a little lime, it'll take a couple limes, not just one. I buy my limes at Costco. You get a huge bag for the same price that you'd get at your regular grocer for a lot less. And you can see right here, we have, I'll kind of shake this a little bit. We probably have right now the 2 teaspoons. And I'm going to put that, there's 1. You can kind of see they're shaved. And the smell, oh, the smell is fantastic. I mean, there's nothing like, it's so bright and clean and fresh. I think you'll just love it. In fact, we've got 2 teaspoons here, but I'm going to put a little bit more because I think it tastes so good. So whatever I've got here is I'm going to put in. And then it calls for 1 tablespoon of lime juice. Just a simple juicer here, plastic, you can get it anywhere. I like this one. I've had it forever, and it is indestructible. So I don't even know what the brand name is. But you just squeeze it, and you just go along and squeeze, and I kind of grind it along the side. And usually, again, it takes 1 lime. That's it. Let's see if we can get that tablespoon out of the 1 lime, or if we're going to need a little bit more. I'm not sure. I do have a couple limes there, so we can do that if needed. And you'll see that sometimes there's a little residue. Just kind of make sure you get the liquids. You don't want any of that residue in there. And we'll get a tablespoon of lime. Oh, and if you have any left over, we put it in our water. There's the tablespoon. Perfect. And there's a little bit left over, so we're going to put that in our water today. It'll just add a little bit of extra into our drink today. So, and the next thing that goes into the sauce is a 1/4 cup of light coconut milk. So light coconut milk. Delicious. And the next thing is 2 tablespoons of lower sodium soy sauce, which, you can get any brand you want. I use the Wegmans. It really is a lot lower. And it calls for 2 tablespoons. I only put in about 1.5 tablespoons, just because, I'm always trying to reduce the sodium. And it doesn't hurt the flavor at all. Okay, and then next up, we've got 2 tablespoons of creamy peanut butter, but which I've already put in. But I did want to point out that you can get a lower sodium and 33% less sugar Jif creamy peanut butter. It's spectacular. It's lower calorie, it's lower sodium, and they haven't replaced it with any kind of chemicals or anything. It's just less of the sugar and salt in it. It's delicious. And then the next thing it calls for is 1 tablespoon of sriracha sauce. And I love this stuff. It adds a little spice to the whole meal, and it's in addition to the lime, it's one you can really taste in your meal. And then 1 teaspoon of sesame oil. So not only are we going to cook the meat in the sesame oil, 1 teaspoon, but we're going to also use it in the sauce. And then we've got the lime in there already, the grated lime. We've got the lime juice. And next up is fresh ground ginger. If you've never dealt with fresh ground ginger, what I like to do is get the big meaty kind so that it's easier to work with when I get home. You have to peel it. And, just take a knife. You could, I suppose you could use a peeler too, but it's just as simple to use a knife. And when you use the big pieces, sometimes they come in these little teeny pieces, and they're just harder to grate, with the little knobs that they have and so forth. So always look for a big meaty piece. And the ginger is just spectacular. It has a real sweet, kind of exotic smell to it. It is really, really good. Okay, so then the next thing we're going to put in there is some cumin. And this is just basic ground cumin. It's not fresh, but what I want to point out here is, surprisingly, they put salt and MSG and all kinds of other stuff in many of the spices that you find at your grocery store. So make sure you look for something that doesn't have all that crap in it. This one here is a Morton & Bassett, San Francisco. It's all natural, salt-free, no MSG, no preservatives. It is just a bit, just pure and simple spice. So again, 1/4 teaspoon of that. And like I said, I'll freeze this up. I'll actually show you. I just put it on a plate to freeze this. This is a teaspoon. I pat it down, and I freeze them in little patties so I know exactly what they are, and then I mark it on the baggie when I put them in. So first you have to freeze it, and then, this is going to be a little bit less than that, but then I put it in the package and mark it accordingly. Okay, so now we'll go ahead and just mix it all up. You just whisk the peanut sauce, which has all those delicious flavors, and it'll be just delicious. You let it sit while you're doing all the other things. One of the things that I do in cooking is I get everything ready and then I begin to cook. So I chop, I get all my materials out, I make the sauces, whatever is necessary before I begin cooking. So then it's just a matter of putting things together versus racing around trying to measure things out and so forth. So there we have the peanut sauce. I love it, love it, love it. It smells delicious. I think we got a winner today. And the last thing that we need to do on this board is to get a 1/4 cup of almonds, or excuse me, cashews. And you can see here, these again are unsalted cashews. We got them at Kirkland. They're a Kirkland brand. Here's a 1/4 cup. And then I'll show you a little trick on what I use to just chop these up. You don't want to you want to make sure you actually measure these out too, because nuts can be fattening as well. They're good for you, but all I do is just put them on the board and take a knife and smash. I mean, you do not need to chop these up. You don't want them to be you want them to be a coarse chop. And that's what this gives you. See how nice that is? Just a nice coarse chop. And that'll go on top of the meal. So we are ready to go. We've got our chicken, the veggies, the sauce. We've got the nuts that'll go on top. It's all ready to go. And now we can go to the pan. Okay, now we're going to put everything together. We're going to use this big pan. And we're going to start with the chicken. Turn it on to about a little bit less than on the high. And then we've got a teaspoon of the sesame, dark sesame oil. Very important to use that. I'm going to let that heat up a little bit. There's not much in there, as you can see. So I'm just going to put that in and let it cook. So we're just browning up this chicken in the sesame oil. And it just takes a minute or two. I like to get it all soaked up. And in the meantime, I've got the cauliflower rice cooking. This is something I made myself. You can get it at the store as well. I freeze the cauliflower rice, and then I take out it anytime I want it or need it. And if you want a cup of rice, then take 2 cups of cauliflower rice. I put a 1/4 teaspoon of butter in there and just put it in. Big lumps of it at this point, but you'll see how nice and flavorful and delicious. You can see how it looks like rice. It'll look like rice even more, and the taste is spectacular, particularly when you have a delicious sauce like this peanut sauce. It's not so good when it's on its own, I'm going to be honest, but boy, oh boy, you can't taste the difference. And my husband was completely tricked, fooled. I told him it was rice, he thought it was rice, at least in this recipe. Okay, I'm going to transfer this meat, chicken, to a plate while I cook up the rest of the veggies. And the veggies are going to get a nice brown roasted flavor. There's not any oil in there. There's a little bit from the meat, but not much. Okay, you can see everything's coming along quite nicely. Here's that cauliflower rice. Take a look at that. Isn't that gorgeous? And it is such a wonderful thing. And what the beauty of it is instead of having rice as your grain, you can have something else, which I'll show you in a minute. We kind of use it as our little dessert. So when we have the cauliflower rice, we can have an extra grain, which we have these little chocolate wafers. My husband likes the cinnamon wafers, and you'll see those. He gets 4 of them, I get 2 of them, and it's a lovely little dessert for us. Okay, so here we are, and this is the finished product. You can see it. We have the beautiful faux rice here, and a beautiful colorful with broccoli and red pepper. You can smell the lime and the fresh ginger. It's just fantastic. And because we're using the faux rice, we get to have a little treat. Eric gets his and I get mine. These are called Belvita breakfast bars. Mine's chocolate, his is cinnamon. And this is 100 calories worth of what I like to call cookies. They are not cookies. They are 19 grams of whole grain, and they're absolutely fantastic. Recommended by nutritionists and so forth. So we get a really nice little meal plus a dessert tonight because we're having this faux rice. There's 4 servings in this recipe, and so I broke this cashews into 4 segments and sprinkled it on the top of ours. So we're going to get started and taste it. We've had this recipe a number of times. It's one of our favorites. So you never know. Sometimes they're different. Oh no, it's fantastic.
As usual, it's fantastic.